Hello and welcome to this video where I'm gonna give my thoughts on the new horror movie, The Boogeyman. It is The Boogeyman, not just Boogeyman. Yeah, The Boogeyman. Now, I just gotten home from the cinema, I just watched it, and I felt like I needed to record this straight away. Also, I probably have forgotten a lot of details later. So it's kind of late, I'm a little tired, and I don't really have any notes. Like, I have like a little bit, but not something that's like super useful. So again, this is gonna be another of those videos that's gonna be a complete mess. So yeah, if you watched my other like movie reviews, something like that, perhaps. And yeah, The Boogeyman, it was based by a story or novel or something by Stephen King, and I probably wouldn't have guessed that if it hadn't said that. I haven't read that somewhere. It didn't really feel Stephen King-ish. Like, Stephen King usually has these tropes that I didn't recognize. I mean, I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan, so there could have been some that I just didn't recognize, but there wasn't like the classic, like, drunken rider, and I don't think the movie took place in Maine, but I don't really know, honestly. I could have missed that. What else? Like, the corrupted preacher or priest or something, like, usually also he has something like that. Didn't really feel like any of that. Also, the dialogue was kind of normal. A weakness with Stephen King is like he's really terrible writing dialogue. He might have gone better over the years. Like, I haven't read all the things he has written. I only read a couple of books, but this is also a complaint I hear about other people who are fans of him, that he's like terrible at writing dialogue between characters, and that's sometimes when you see like adaptations to like movies or TV shows by Stephen King, and sometimes they try to move over the dialogue from the book to the movie, and that just usually doesn't work. They didn't do it here. Like, the dialogue was so normal that I kind of forgot it was Stephen King based. Also, like, everything felt like kind of like run of the mill, nothing Stephen King crazy-ish, which could be good or bad depending on, like, as I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Stephen King, so I didn't mind it that much. But I think it would have been more entertained if they had some of the craziness from Stephen King, but I don't know. The Boogeyman felt kind of like a lot of other horror movies that has been released here these past 10-15 years. I feel like the writers and the director, like, I feel like they're just fans of very recent horror movies. Like, it felt so much copy pasted. Like, you know how you feel like if you're a teacher writing grading someone's essay and you're reading through it and you're thinking, you have all the right answers. You got all the right answers, but it just doesn't feel like this has been written in your language, or like there's nothing unique to it. Like, I'd rather have you made a couple more flaws just to make it feel more like you, if that makes any sense. Because the movie itself is like well made, very decent. It doesn't really do anything new or unique that you hadn't seen before. It's like this typical like sinister style. I think Insidious also a little bit, maybe a couple of other ones that I can't remember from my head. I'm gonna probably fill the screen up with some examples for other movies that it reminds me of. Lights Out, for example. You know, the one where like there's like this entity. Usually it's like the kids or younger teens who discover it, or like an unstable adult perhaps, and then nobody believes them, and then they do some research, and then more people lead them, and then at the end they fight the thing, and it was very much like that. And I feel like we have seen all what they can do with that. Even something like this, because had this been released like probably 5, 6, 8 years ago, I think this would have gone up to be like a classic, like a Sinister or something like that. But with how heavy the horror movie market is with movies in this style, I think this is just gonna like disappear in the next year, so nobody's gonna remember it, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I don't know if that's a shame or if it's good riddance. I need like a little more unique horror movies like to come out. Something like Glorious that I just saw here the other day, which was fantastic, about this dude who's talking to a Lovecraftian horror god monster inside a bathroom stall. I'm not go check that movie out. That's fucking amazing. But we're not gonna talk about this one. We'll talk about The Boogeyman. And yeah, there isn't really a whole lot to complain about except the fact that it just felt kind of rehashed and reused. And I felt like I watched this movie like 10 times before, if not more. And yeah, there's like, it's very jump scare heavy if you enjoy that. or if you don't enjoy that's that's something. I don't mind jump scares too much. I do feel like a lot of them was kind of telegraphed. Like there was one good jump scare that they only like telegraphed it for like half a second. Usually when they start telegraphing horror or like jump scares, that's usually like a couple of seconds where it can be like, oh, here it comes. There it was. And here there was one where it was like, oh, here it comes, boom, that didn't come. Like, so it's like very short telegraphed. And I don't know if that's because I just watched too many horror movies. I noticed that stuff. And maybe if you're like a casual horror movie fan, you might not notice that as easy, but I don't know. The guy beside me jumped a lot under the movies. So I don't know. He got scared a couple of times, or at least jumped. So that's fun. Always fun to be in, like, that's why I love to watch horror movie in the cinema, like just to watch the other people jump. Like I live vicariously through them because I don't really get jumpy anymore. Like it's very rare that a jump scare will like truly get me anymore, but oh well. And that's not to say like the movie has very eerie, like I was definitely like on my edge of my seat sometimes, but then again just come to jump scare and then we're like back to like, you know. I was also kind of shocked to see that the movie is only 98 minutes. It felt quite longer than that, maybe like closer to 2 hours, but I don't know, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. It didn't drag, but it just felt like they were just using so many tropes of recent horror movies that it felt like it had to be longer, and it doesn't feel like it's rushing. I feel like it takes its time, so that's kind of neat. Also, like the actors did a very decent job. I felt like they did. Again, there isn't really a whole lot of like reasonable things to complain about. Again, it's just my biggest gripe about this. I have already watched this horror movie like so many times, and I don't think I need to watch it again. All right, I'm gonna go into a little more story recap and give a little spoilers, and so click away if you don't want that. But at the end here, just like if you're avid horror movie fans, you can skip it. Wait until it comes out to streaming. You have watched this before. If you're like a casual horror fan, enjoy like watching the occasional one, it could be fun to see in the cinema. Get a few jump scares in, have a few laughs afterwards, like fun enough. Yeah, and here is the story recap. We're following a family of a father and his two daughters who has recently lost their mothers a month prior to the opening of the movie. And the oldest daughter is called Sophie, who's about like a high school teenager. Younger daughter called Sawyer. And the father is called Dad? No, Chris. No, wait, that's the actor. Will. His name is Will. My god. I cannot remember any of the names. I have the IMDb page open, but it's over there, so I cannot read it that well. And yeah, the dad, Will, is a psychiatrist or therapist? Something like that. And yeah, he's in the beginning of the movie, he's talking to clients and he's dealing with the aftermath of losing his daughter, and he's taking his daughter, losing his wife, I'm sorry, and he's taking his daughters to school for the first day after like a month of a grieving period. And yeah, he takes them off there and leaves them, and he comes back to his office to do a little more work, where he gets a visit from a guy called Lester, who's like the polka dot man from Suicide Squad. I could not see anything else. Like, damn. Also, just the weird thing that he's talking to his therapist. I for sure is there to talk about his mother, but no. He talked about stuff that happened with his family. That he had 3 children who all like died over a period of a year, and the first one seemed to have died. I don't know. I thought like the way they said it, the first of his children died normally, like or like naturally, and the 2 others might have gotten by the Boogeyman, but that's just how I got it. I'm not sure. They could have all been gotten by the Boogeyman. No. Because the trope of the Boogeyman is like that you need to be grieving or like feel at the weak point. So he has 3 children. He lost 1 to begin, and the Boogeyman came and took the 2 others. There we go. I think I got it. So he kind of like sets up the whole story of the Boogeyman and like has these tropes with like the kids' drawings that we have seen also a million times before, and yeah. And while there, the father of the family, Will, he gets a little nervous about it, so he like excuses himself and calls the cops. But Lester, the polka dot man, he has kind of started to walk around the house, and he hangs himself inside the art studio of the late mother. And then police comes, and I feel like I'm saying "and" quite a lot. it's just I'm trying to recall all the things that happens. And yeah, by that he has basically invited the boogeyman inside their home somehow. I don't know. Really, like the movie doesn't has this like typical trope of like a research part, which I was kind of surprised by. Like usually there's always this part in these type of movies where they are looking up something about the monster either at the library or using their in-universe version of Google. There wasn't anyone who was like on Fuble or whatever they would call it, searching for what is Boogeyman, who is Boogeyman, yada yada yada. And I don't know if because I kind of like those scenes in the other movies. Like I love getting a bit of lore and establishing rules for the monsters, but I feel like had they done this here as well, it's just like completely tipped over to be something like, come on, just have one original idea in your body. God damn it, Boogeyman. Oh my god, I thought a guy was called Han Solo. Okay, there was one actor who was in the beginning, he's just a background actor, who's called Han Soto. I thought his name was Han Solo. God damn. That would have been funny if that was his name. Oh my god. Yeah, nobody cares. So yeah, the youngest daughter starts getting, how do you say, harassed by the boogeyman. Starts to sneak in through her closet in the bedroom, and yeah, we see the classic jump scares. He chases them, nobody believes her, they all think it's a dream. Then the oldest daughter also starts to see something creepy stuff, and again, the movie does these scenes very well. But I don't know, I just so have so many other movies also done these scenes very well. This movie just lacked a bit of personality. And I feel like I'm repeating myself, so I probably also lack some personality or something to do. And then yeah, there's also scenes of the oldest daughter trying to fit in back at high school or whatever it was. And there's this friend group she's with where she's kind of only friend with one of them. But that one has gotten friends with the others, and she tries to like take the daughter, or like Sadie, and try to like integrate her into the friend group, but they aren't really like clashing. There's like this one fucking bitch, Natalie, who's like, you should have slapped. She ends up getting a slap in the face, and I felt like should have gotten that like way earlier. Such a bitch. But you know how like high school kids can be. But then again, that's also just something we have seen before. And Sadie also eventually visits the widow from Lester, Polka Dot Man, and she is also giving a little more details about the monster. So I guess we get like not research per se, but there's this trope of like visiting someone who has experience with the creature or monster that they are dealing with, and we get that. And she's completely off the rails as well. And yeah, again, it's something we've seen before. Her life is a mess because the monster has ruined her life, and she's like basically just living prepared to like deal with it in case it comes. Like have cameras around the house so you can take pictures of it, which like I don't know why you want to do that. I don't think people would believe you anyway, just because you have a Polaroid picture, but I don't know. Also this trope with weird candles. I know the monster can kind of like turn off electricity, and they tried to make like a deal about it like being fire that is afraid of. I don't know. I just saw this whole pile of candles around in a corridor, and I was like, holy crap, the time it would take to light all those up, man. Like the first candles at the end of must have already gone out by the time you finish that row. So yeah, just very impractical, but it looked cool enough, at least on the big screen. And yeah, time goes on, and the monster gets more and more aggressive, tries to get a little more out into the world, and suddenly all escalate at the end, where like what the fuck happens? Oh yeah, the Sadie has like a slumber party or something like that with the friend group, and the monster just attacks the baby sister Sawyer, so they have to go to the hospital with her. And while there, she gets a phone call from the widow telling her to come so they can finish it off. And that's, I've got to say, that was kind of a cool scene with how they finish it off. The widow have laid out traps, and they got the monster, like it got shot several times with a shotgun, and then the widow just kept shooting it again as well. And I kind of, again, this very telegraph thing, or like this just trope thing, where she's standing there with a shotgun. oh yeah, we killed it. I told you could kill it, and then it just jumps her and kills her, and it like tears her apart in the middle. That was kind of cool. I like that scene. And yeah, then Sadie managed to escape and runs home where the Boogeyman has already gotten there. And like the Boogeyman travels fast. I don't know how he does that. It does that. What gender does the Boogeyman have? Who cares? And then Sadie runs home to save her family by the help of the spirit of the mother, which is also just a trope we have seen before, like the spirit of a loved one who just comes to help. And yeah, we have seen that before, and they kill it off with fire, and that's pretty much it. Again, I feel like I'm being mean to this because, as I've said, it does everything very decent, very good, very well. There's just not an original bone in this story. Like, it just feels a little frustrating that here you have like a story based off a very popular horror writer and clearly made by talented crew and talented actors, and yet they go for something so frigging middle of the road, like story-wise. Couldn't have just have taken a little more chances, done something a little more unique, like a Lovecraftian monster in the bathroom, I don't know. Oh my god, check out Glorious, it was fucking great. Like, I really like that one. I think that's also like a horror comedy thing, but again, probably shouldn't talk about that. We should probably stick to the Boogeyman. And yeah, I don't really have that much to say. This is probably going to be one of the shorter videos, because I felt like I wanted to talk about it, but I probably don't really, again, have that much to say. So yeah, I guess as I said previous, if you're an avid horror fan, wait for it to, and you watched pretty much all horror movies these past 10-15 years, you can skip this one, wait for it to come onto streaming, which it probably will very soon. And again, if you are like casual horror fan, you can definitely go and watch this. There's gonna be some fun jump scares and have a few laughs, as I said. But yeah, and that's about it. That's my thoughts on this movie. Really hard to go into depth with this one, but oh well. So if you've been sticking through the bad English, you're a real hero. Thanks for watching and take care.